So here I am trying to make a video on Combiner Wars Optimus Maximus, and then the first two waves of Titan's Return drop within 2 weeks of each other. I've already ordered wave 1 online, but I managed to pick up Highbrow to start off with. But then I realized I wasn't supposed to do that because I was supposed to get wave 2 in full online as well.
Oh my god!
Oh well, it doesn't matter, as Highbrow is a pretty solid figure. As my jumping point for the deluxes in this line, I thought it was a good idea to go with the middle of the range to temper my expectations. Only that didn't work because this guy's still pretty amazing anyway. Fortunately, this video won't take nearly as long to complete because there's not much to say. I can sum it up right now. He's fun. Flawed, but fun. Starting off with the helicopter mode, if that's what you call it, there's a lot to like and a lot to dislike. First off with the positives, the colours on this thing are really good. They really pop. The grey doesn't feel dull at all, and it's not used too much so the figure isn't overpowered. On the other hand, the blue isn't used too much either, which would make the figure look dark. It's also got a nice shine to it, which keeps it from feeling cheap. The layout also works really well with a sort of striped effect. The paint, although minimal, gets across the point to make it seem not underdone in any way, which was one of the many faults in Combiner Wars. There's a smidge of gunmetal on the steering propeller, and some decaled red on the sides, a strip of red in what I assume is the vent section. All transforming helicopters seem to have it, but real ones sometimes skip out. Probably, I don't know how helicopters work. A bit of gunmetal on the bottom, and some grey on the cockpit. Speaking of which, all hail the return of transparent plastic. Oh, how I've missed you! Take that, Combiner Wars! Where was it, aside from some render form upgrades? There's also a fair amount of sculpted detail that's more there to make it seem interesting than to make it seem noticed. And here's foldable front landing gear that actually lines up with the wing landing gear on the guns, rather than the CW block that they had going for the longest time. Transitioning into the problems, the guns peg on in such a way that you have to keep them in position if you want the landing gear to line up properly. The copter looks way better with them than without them, but it's a slight con. While we're here, the way the gun pegs in is really strange, leading to a lot of confusion with several reviewers. Just remember, the square peg is in a hexagonal hole, even though that's somewhat counterintuitive. The cockpit is mostly right, however this little transparent blue strip has been painted over and doesn't even attempt to match up with the blue plastic. Also, many reviewers have said the cockpit is too big for the figure. I don't mind, but some people have said it. The Autobot symbol on the back here has already been scratched, and not by me. This is how it came out of the box, and hasn't been out very long so I can tell. The back section does a good job of bending in the legs, but the heel spurs are completely visible inside their hollow storage compartments. The blades are warped out of the package, and I seriously doubt putting a hairdryer over them would fix it. And moving on to the elephant in the room, these are arms on the side. There is no disguising them. They peg in well and their colours fit, but they are definitely arms pegged into the side of a helicopter. There are even two hollow sections where the torso contours in, and you can see right through it. If the arms had at least covered up the cavity with some flaps or something, it might have worked, but no attempt was made here. Still, in spite of its flaws, the helicopter mode brings a lot of joy. It's simple but effective. Now, let's take a look at the headmaster. This is Highbrow. I refuse to go by the American fiction where these are nebulons and there are two separate minds in one body. This is Highbrow, and we just discussed the transector. If you have a problem with that, I don't give a shit. Now that that's out of the way, I can finally get on to how cute I find these little things. Having tied myself over with the Titan Master sets, I've finally learned to get over my parts forming fear of these things because they are just so adorable. They're a little like Micromasters, only properly proportioned. Oh, he may have an upside down face on his back and limited articulation consisting of a mono-legged mono-hip and a ball-jointed head that acts more like a swivel here. What was that? Did I just make a Jobby reference? Should I even be doing that? And ball-jointed arms. And henceforth, all Titan's Return videos shall link back to this one, as discussing the articulation for each and every headmaster is annoying. And honestly, the articulation is my least favourite part to film anyway. Just under the audio editing, because that is really annoying. Unfortunately, as headmasters go for this line, this one's pretty weak. I really complain about tolerances, but this one's way too floppy. Any pose other than standing straight up is guaranteed to fall. The only real place to store Highbrow is in the cockpit, and although he doesn't really peg in there like the Titan Master sets, he sits in there snugly enough. I use the word real to describe it because the other storage point is stupid. You can combine the two flamethrowers that he comes with that served as landing gear before to form a gun, and the headmaster can sit in it. Or on. More like on. Like a little foot bath. This thing looks dumb. I appreciate the effort to also incorporate target masters into the line, but this is not how you do it. If you really wanted to do target masters, just make target masters. It also doesn't really peg in anywhere except the sides of the vehicle, which barely hold onto it. That aside, the helicopter mode is still very fun, even if the accessories are shit. And the arms are shit. And the headmaster is, you know what, just fine, don't take my word for it, just buy the damn thing and see yourself. Transforming this guy happens almost exactly the way you'd expect it. Arms out, legs out, cockpit bat, head on! Still, it's kind of hard to complain when I don't see where any extra engineering could have been implemented, well, except in one place. Now, whether this is a retool of Scourge, or if Scourge is a retool of this is left to be said, as I'm not in possession of the Scourge I purchased yet. That aside, I am really surprised with the legs. I was expecting them to rotate inwards like Shockwave, but no, they go in the opposite way. This led to some complications with the orientation of the legs. Just remember this, if their natural stance is out like this, you're doing it wrong. If it's like this, you're all good to go. Now, you pick up Highbrow. You see all the beautiful sculpted detail, the subtle chest Easter egg, the splendid stance, and then you notice that the head is as floppy as a reaction to
Joke removed from video due to adult content. You motherfucker.
Whilst this does make for some funny headbanging action, it makes posing him very annoying. So what I usually do is turn the head around. It's a bit looser in there, and from certain angles you can see the face poking out, but all in all it's still a pretty easy solution to a really annoying issue. After that, how does this figure fare? Pretty good actually. First off, the sculpted detail is phenomenal. It's clear that this fell into the design where the robot mode was taken into account first. The face sculpt is perfect, the arms are perfect, even the flip-out chesting is cool. G1 accuracy aside, it's a definite improvement to Highbrow's flat chest, which is optional if you're really turned off by it. I don't discriminate, some prefer plot, some think flat is justice. The only thing really holding this thing back from perfection is the lack of paint, but in today's era that's bound to happen. We had a bit on the shoulders, legs, and a lot in the fake waist section. There's no waist swivel by the way, however the way this is designed I can't help but feel that there originally was intended to be one when it was designed, but it fell through to budget constraints. This provides a small bit of evidence to my theory that Highbrow was designed first and Scourge was the retool. Either way, he's got a killer robot mode, from the front anyway. I can forgive the backpack, but these legs have complete strong arm syndrome with the hollow legs. And yes, from now on I'm calling it strong arm syndrome. I'm aware that wasn't the first instance, but for me it's the one I remember the most. The blades also have nowhere to go. Whilst folding up isn't much of an issue, it would have been nice if they unpegged and became saws like Generation Springer to clean up the robot mode a bit. As they are, posing can look a little awkward. For my least favourite part of the review, articulation. Not because it's bad, but because I hate to film it. The head is on a ball joint, the shoulders both have a hinge and a ball joint, there's a bicep swivel and a 90-degree elbow bend. His hands tilt and for some reason click outwards like a ballerina or someone getting really angry. No waist swivel due to the mechanism, but his hips are universally ratchet and then he has a thigh swivel. He also gets an insane knee bend due to the strong arm syndrome. Thanks to the heel spurs, he can get in a lot of sturdy poses. They're simple, but effective. And for a size comparison, yes, it is confirmed, the new deluxes are in fact bigger than the ones from Combiner Wars. All in all, this figure's far from perfect. He is, however, fun. Buying this guy on the way home really brought up a lot of fun memories. Stopping off at my local Kmart, buying a toy, opening it on the bus home, and then sneaking it into the house. Yeah, those were the days before I temporarily quit Transformers and went into the worst hobby ever. Solid alt mode, solid paint, and awesome colours make this guy a really good jumping point. I just have to remember to save my money from now on. I need to keep my money for other things like my sister's birthday present, and for the new boots I need, and for all these other things I have to pay for. I can always buy more toys late.